Here are some photos I took recently at an exotic car show here in Toronto, Canada. Now, in case you don't like these pictures, I'm going to play them again, except this time with a white border around them. Isn't that better? For an instant improvement to your photography, just add a white border. All the pictures in this video were taken with two cheap lenses that I bought for under $50 used. In this video, I'm going to introduce to you the basic 5-step checklist I use to maximize my chances of taking a good photo regardless of the subject matter, regardless of the equipment, and regardless of the situation. Research, gear selection, image capture, in other words, the actual taking of the photo, post-processing, and finally, delivery. Now the first step is research. Do not panic. I do not mean you have to go to the library. What I mean is some basic research you can do on the internet without even getting off the couch. 3 things to check: previous work, location, where will you be taking pictures? Is there anything special about the location that could affect how your pictures look? And finally, the light. How much light is there going to be? Which direction will it be coming from? Will you have the ability to diffuse the light or reflect it? In the case of the exotic car show, this happens to be the Yorkville Exotics show, which happens on an annual basis. So if we just type that into Google Images, we know it's going to take place downtown on very busy streets. It's going to be crowded. We can see from the previous year's photos that there's going to be direct sunlight. The event took place between noon and 5 p.m., which is traditionally not a great time for photography, right? But that's something we can't control. For the location, you can always look it up on Google Maps. You can see what the street view is going to be like. So for the light, really all we have to work with is the weather report. Now, if you want to get technical, you can use websites like SunCalc. We're not going to get too deep into that here. In the case of this car show, it was just going to be direct overhead sun blasting down, so the angle wasn't too relevant. Everyone's favorite part. Now, I always suggest making do with what you have. I decided to go with a basic mid-range zoom, my trusty 18 to 55 AFP kit lens. Because I already own this equipment, I'm going to be far more effective with it than if I was, for example, renting a piece of gear for the first time. And I didn't mind the slow aperture too much because I knew we would have a lot of light to work with. And as always, you bring a nifty 50. In my case, I brought the very cheap and cheerful, plastic fantastic 50 1.8D. I mean, it's so tiny that you might as well bring it with you. I didn't even plan on using it, but I'm glad I brought it along. And this lens actually has a little trick up its sleeve that the more expensive 1.8G lens does not have. Some of you may already guess what that is, but we'll get to that. And finally, guys, don't even think about going to a car show without bringing some kind of polarizer filter. It's like sunglasses for your lens. To demonstrate how important this is, we can look at this picture of a Lamborghini Diablo, first taken without a polarizing filter, where we can see some ugly reflections from the surrounding buildings and visitors, and finally, with the polarizing filter, we cut some of that out. It's not a magic solution. You won't be able to cut out all the reflections, but as you can see, it is a significant improvement. Another advantage to this little kit lens is that it focuses very closely. I knew I could rely on it to get some detail shots. And when you have no idea what you're going to shoot, in my case, I didn't know whether I would even be able to get the whole car in the shot or maybe just a small part of the car. That's why I figured a zoom would be a better choice than a prime. Now, when you get to a car show, it can get a little crazy and you feel like you're a kid in a candy shop because you don't know where to start. So what I would suggest is to calm down, walk around the whole area without taking any pictures, just to assess the situation and see what you have to work with and get the lay of the land and see what the lighting is like in various parts. As you can see, conditions were suboptimal. It was physically hard to even get to the cars, let alone to take pictures. People were shoving, yelling. There were reflections from just about everywhere. It felt like half the city came out to look at these cars. That's what you get for attending a public event. So I concluded pretty quickly that I would just never be able to get the whole car in one frame without people all around it. So I would be focusing on detail shots. In some cases, I wasn't able to cut out the reflection at all. There were even instances where I decided to emphasize the reflections instead because, hey, if you can't cut it out, let's dial up the reflections instead and call it a creative choice. Inevitably, you start learning things about your subject even during the shoot. For one, I learned that it's far easier to get nice looking photos of classic cars. There's just more separation between the various parts of the exterior, and the interiors are also a lot of fun as well. So that would be my top tip. Start with the classics. I don't know about you, I found it really difficult to get good detail shots of the modern exotics like the Ferraris and the Lambos. There just wasn't that much separation. I mean, the aerodynamics of the thing made it so my photos looked very two-dimensional. To all of you Porsche drivers, I get it. I get it. These are very beautiful cars, and you really start appreciating that when you start taking photos of them. Because of the intense sunlight, there were some very distracting specular highlights appearing on my photos. And I didn't have a good way to get rid of them because I didn't have any control over the light. So then I remembered I had in my pocket the nifty 50 plastic fantastic 1.8D, and I remembered that this lens actually has a trick up its sleeve. To see what I mean, look at the aperture blades. Because these are straight blades, they're much better for creating sun stars than modern lenses, because modern lenses usually not always, but usually have rounded aperture blades. Everybody knows 7 aperture blades means 14-point sun stars, because if it's an even number of aperture blades, you get the same number of points on the star, and if it's an odd number, you multiply it by 2. So if it had 6 blades, you would get 6-point stars, and I wasn't quite sure what aperture would be sufficient for getting beautiful sun stars, so I just went a little wild and started taking pictures at f16 all the way up to f22, and I'm happy to report that the diffraction police did not come and arrest me. Turns out it's perfectly legal to take pictures at f22. After all, these were cars on a red carpet, and I figured if they're going to be the stars of the show, let's turn these specular highlights into sun stars. Post-processing is an important component of any kind of photography these days. Any photos you see online, in magazines, even on YouTube, are usually heavily edited. Now, I didn't have time, because I'm not getting paid to do this, I didn't have time to go in and remove every dust particle and distracting element, but there was a lot of post-processing involved. For this shoot, I went a little crazy and used some of Lightroom's built-in picture styles. I figured let's have some fun. I made heavy use of the clarity slider in Lightroom, and for the older cars, I dialed in at some negative clarity, like -5, -7, to give it a bit of a dreamier look. And for modern cars, I went the other way and dialed up the clarity instead. Finally, there's delivery. In my case, I knew it was just a matter of showing them on YouTube to you guys, but if I was interested in printing these photos out, or if I was tasked with delivering them at a certain quality level, at a certain resolution, that would definitely inform not only my gear choices, but perhaps all the previous steps in the process as well. Because my final output was to the internet, I wasn't too worried about extreme cropping. Now, funny enough, some of my favorite pictures from the event happened by accident. I got some great shots of the crowd reacting to these cars, and I'll leave you with one last shot that I call true happiness. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and subscribe for more.